Heather, Charles, and Nell picked 92 quarts of berries. You can write an equation on that, and we can use the number of Charlie. So I'm going to use n sub c plus the number of Bell equal 92 quarts. So there's your first equation. You have two different people, and to solve for them, you're going to have two equations. So the next equation, if Charles picked 6 more quarts than Nell. So Charles has more than Nell. So the number of Charles would be equal to the number of, why did I put B? Nell and Nell. What do I have to do to get Nell equal to the amount of Charles? Add 6 to it. Okay. And then you would substitute in and solve. I'm not going to take up your time to do that. You know how to do the substitution properly at this point. Okay. Example 2. The number of boys in Sarah's class exceeded the number of girls. You have the number of boys. Number of girls would be equal if we did what? 7. Added 7 to the girls. And then if there was a total of 29 in the class, that's the number of boys plus the number of girls would equal 29. Again, use your substitution property there by plugging in and solving. Yes?
So like with the equal up top, is that how all these problems are going to be like NP equal?
Pretty much. This one's interesting on example 3. Talking about a piece of rope. Philip cut a 38-meter rope into 2 pieces. The hardest part on this for me would be, if I was in your spot and not having done this very long, is realizing that if you cut a piece of rope, and not in half, but if you cut a piece of rope, you probably have a longer segment and a shorter segment. So notating them that way might help. You could also do rope 1 and rope 2, but I'm going to do it this way. Nths of the longer plus the nths of the shorter. So the longer piece and the shorter piece has to equal 38 inches. Okay? Or meters, sorry.
In the book they didn't use the N.
What did they do? Just L and S?
Put L and S.
Yeah. Okay. And you can do that. I just want to show it the same way each time. Alright, the longer piece was 9 meters longer than short. So you have the longer one would be equal to the shorter if we added 9 meters to the shorter one. Because it's the longer one is 9 meters long.
If you flip flop them, is that still okay? Like if you have that one on top and the other on bottom?
Yeah, the order of these two doesn't matter. Now, could you write this part differently? There is a way you could write it differently, because you could say that the length of the shorter is equal to the length of the longer if you were to take 9 away from the longer. I don't like that one as well, but it would be adequate if you were to use it. Again, subbing that in. The sum of two numbers is 72. So I'm going to use number 1 on this one plus number 2 equals 72. That's the sum of the two numbers. The difference of the two numbers is 26. Oh, this one's easy enough. So nths of 1 minus nths of 2 equals 26. Now, which operation are we going to use on this one? Or which process? Elimination. And it's already set up because nths of 2 and nths of 2 it eliminates as is. So when we add nths of 1 and nths of 1, that's 2. Nths of 1 equals 98. You have to add those two as well. And then nths of 1 equals 49. And if nths of 1 is 49, you plug that in. Plug it in here. What's 72 minus 49? 23. So nths of 2 would be 23.
Is that all we need?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the
Yep. It's it's just using different things. Now, example 5, it gets a little wordy here. And maybe it's just looks like it's going to be harder than it is. The greater of two numbers is 16 greater than the smaller. The greater of two numbers, so the bigger number is 16 greater than the smaller. So I'm going to label these to kind of eliminate some of the graters and lesses. I'm going to name it bigger and smaller. So the bigger number would be equal to the smaller number if we did what? Add 16. When added together, their sum is 4 less than 3 times the smaller. When added together, their sum is 4 less than 3 times the smaller. Ooh, boy. What do you think on that?
Do what?
When added together, their sum is 4 less than 3 times the smaller.
I have a problem.
So we. Go ahead, Kim.
Would you put like NB plus NS equals 3 NS minus 4?
That's what I was going to do. Because the word is means equals, you have the sum of the two is, was it 4 greater than 3 times the third?
No.
Or 3 times the smaller? 3 times the smaller, and then plus 4. So you, sorry, 4 less, sorry. Yep. So minus 4. So to get started on this one, you need to get this part moved over to here. So we would subtract 3 nths of s, subtract 3 nths of s, and your equation would be better put as in b minus 2 nths of s equals negative 4. Rewrite that and get rid of this thing so that,
And then you can just solve.
and then you just do your regular old solving at that point. So you have to do a little bit of extra work on that.
36 and 20.
I don't like number 6. That's actually a little more than I'd like for you to have to mess with, but
Are you gonna do it?
yeah, in case they throw one at you, we'll show you how it works. The ratio of two numbers is 4 to 5. So ratio of two numbers, I have number 1 and number 2, and the ratio is 4 to 5 and 5 to 4. So 5 to 4. And this is the part without looking at the book, I might have been a little stuck on too, is we can do our butterfly method. So you have 4 nths of 1 equals 5 nths of 2. And then you could solve for one or the other from that. And let's just divide by 4 on both sides. And so we have nths of 1
What about your 63?
is equal to, I'm not done yet, 5/4 nths of 2. Okay. Everybody follow me on that. I'm going to erase this stuff to have room to do the others.
So that's your final answer?
No.
One? Okay.
No, that's just, that's just what nths of 1 is equal to in terms of nths of 2.
Okay.
Now let's go back to the next part. The sum of the numbers is 63. So we know that nths of 1 plus nths of 2 equals 63. So we can take this value of nths of 1 now and plug that into there. You get 5/4 nths of 2 plus nths of 2 equals 63. That's what? If I add 1 to this, that'd be 4/4, that'd be 9/4 nths of 2 equals 63 over 1. Multiply by the reciprocal. 4/9. It's nice that that cancels out nice and neat for us. So that nths of 2 equals 28. And then you plug in 28 in for instead of 2, 28 and 4, reduce nice and neat to 7. 7 times 5 is 35. I'm sure that was way too fast. 5/4 times the value of 28, gonna put it over 1. The 4's cancel, 35. Make sure those pieces all end up going with you or in the trash can.
Pull the lead out and split in half.
It's a pretty sweet little deal. So that one's entirely different, simply because you have that ratio, you have to set that part up as a different kind of problem. Right.
It's not a compliment. It's a compliment. I'm gonna be butchering chickens from 5 a.m. until they're done. So.
I'm gonna be waiting.
Yeah,
Kids,
let us
I
down.
know, kids are too late.
You too. My buttons from last
Get those written down.